Henshin Inspection presents Going Ultra. This is MJ. I'm an author, I'm an artist, I'm an analyzer. Joining me as I talk about Ultraman Blazar episode 21, which was called Insurance Hero. Yes, it is Insurance Hero. And it was a really interesting episode. I liked it a lot. I had a lot of fun with it. I have very few notes on it because there's not much for me to say on it other than the fact that I liked it. And basically what I have to say is I hope that this breather, I guess is what it was, before the finale is a recalibration of the show and of the series and of the story, and it's not a blip, a momentary dramatic shift away from big, meaty, juicy story details into something kind of mundane and meaningless, perhaps. That's one way to look at it, and that's the calm before the storm, before we get into this big, whatever the end game is going to be. I really liked this story because it was a meaningful story. It was about people. It was a nice human story about Tetsuo, this insurance kaiju disaster insurance salesman, and Michiko, this old lady who she seemed to be well off, or at least like the home that she and her husband lived in together before he died. It was a nice home, and maybe he did well for himself. I don't know if it's a family estate or how things like inheritance type of stuff works in Japan, but it was a nice home, nice big home, and he ends up doing all this cleaning for her, and he works really hard. And I think so like the story is that he's in this awful job that he hates. He doesn't really want to be in insurance. He wants to be doing something else, something more meaningful to him, and he just doesn't know what that is. It seems like he was in music school, perhaps, because he says that lots of his other friends have gone on to do things in music or become like rock star kind of deal, and they're like pursuing their dreams, and he doesn't really have a dream. He just wants to like live a life or whatever. But I think there are things that he wants. He's just lying to himself or hiding from them, or he's like not willing to acknowledge the things that he wants because, well, if you admit that you have a dream and it's a big dream, then you can fail. So it's easier sometimes not to admit that you have a dream. And anyway, there's this guy, Grant Cardone, who's like an entrepreneur, businessy type guy, and he has this book out called 10X, which I've never read, but I've heard lots of people talk about it. And they talk about whatever you say your goals are, you should say you want 10 times that goal, because saying that is going to put you in the mindset to get it, and it's going to help you to achieve that dream or that goal of yours. And honestly, if you fall short of 10 times what you wanted, you still may get very close to it, which, yes, it's another businessman, entrepreneur trading in old saws, like if you shoot for the stars you'll hit the moon or whatever, and that's fine. You can be as critical of you as you want of it. From what I know, he seems like a decent fellow, and I'd hate to kill him. But his book has been helpful, and his philosophy has been helpful to people who care about helping others and who care about things that I care about: criminal justice reform, ending the warfare state, and things like that, which we don't need to talk about now because we're talking about Ultraman and we're having fun with this insurance salesman. But anyway, just your dreams are important, and I don't know why Tetsuo has not really gone for his dreams, and the story doesn't, the episode, the story that we get here with him now doesn't explain that, but it does show that he's a good person with drive and compassion, and he cares about people. And there's a younger guy who's in his insurance office who is doing all phone calls, and he mocks Tetsuo for going out. It's not the 80s anymore, going out and doing cold call or knocking. He's going knocking, and that knocking for sales is a very hard thing to do. I have some experience with it. I'm not knocking for sales anymore, so that might tell you some of what I think about it. But I definitely made decent money when I actually made money. There were a lot of no's and very few yeses. But anyway, here we are. And that wasn't my dream, honestly. My dream is to be a writer and a storyteller, which is something I'm kind of doing here and kind of doing now. I'm analyzing these stories, and I'm telling you the way I think things should have gone, and things I liked about these stories, things I'd like from them to incorporate into my stories. And I'm also telling you about my stories that I'm working on creating as well. So anyway, but this younger guy has like this philosophy of like he's going to say whatever he needs to say, and he's going to do whatever he needs to do to get the sale, which is scummy and awful and bad. And Tetsuo doesn't have that philosophy. He wants to be more honest. He wants to be, just there's something about him. He has like a good character, and I don't mean he's a good character and entertaining to watch. Like, he has good character. He's a good person at heart, and that makes his story interesting and engaging. And that leads him to put his life in danger to save Michiko because she's in her home. She's his first person to sign in who knows how long, and she ends up signing for him partially because I think because she sees through the salesman thing and she sees what his true character is, because she burns something and he ends up going to the store, I think, and then cooking for her, and he cleans for her and he does all this stuff. He just goes above and beyond, but he doesn't really have anything else going, and he just throws himself into helping this old lady genuinely, and I think he gets wrapped up and caught in it because, well, he's just that kind of person. He's a good person and he wants to help people. That's what he does, and that's what heroes do. And then when he realizes that she's in danger, he goes to her home, and it was really cute. Part of the sales pitch is that if you get the insurance, we're going to give you this hard hat to make sure that you're safe in the event of a kaiju attack. So he puts this hat on her, and then he puts her on his back, and he's running around. They're falling, there's debris, there's all sorts of hijinks going on, but you really get to see like this sweet relationship and dynamic develop between them. And even Michiko's at one point, or when he gets to her, she's like, I've lived long enough, maybe it's time for me to see my late husband. And he tells her, no, he wouldn't want that. And he fights against this lady, her inclination or her urge to just give up and die. And he's like, no, you have to live. You have to live for a while longer at least. Like, that would make your husband happy. What will make her husband happy? I don't know ultimately, but I would think he'd want her to live a longer, fuller, happier life. And anyway, the thing is, he's not saving her life for selfish reasons. He's saving her life because he thinks she deserves for her life to be saved, and that she's kind of throwing her life away. And here's the thing, she might go on and, you know, touch people's lives and help them and do good to them, and like be a source of comfort and support for other people who need her. And, you know, it's not worth her giving up. You know, every life is precious and every life is valuable, and that's kind of something that's touched on and talked about in this episode, even though it's in the context of this old lady who kind of wants to die, or who's kind of resigned to giving up her life, and this insurance salesman who is just going above and beyond to help her out. And you notice they're not talking about a lot about the Kaiju or Ultraman or anything like that, because they didn't really matter. They were very incidental to the story, and I really like that. I like the story was strong enough to stand on its own with these characters in the context. Would I like every episode of Blazar to be like that? No. If it'll help us avoid getting any more useless or soulless updates, then yeah, or upgrades, forms, whatever, new toys. Because this story had heart, and it was touching and beautiful, and I loved it, and it was very nice to see. And yeah, there's not really much else to say. I thought this was a great episode, and I really had a lot of fun with it. And I already said all the stuff I was going to say, so yeah, the characters were fun. It was a nice human story, and I really hope this isn't a blip and we go back to kind of business as usual and have the end of Blazar be kind of like heartless and a little cold or something. That would be really sad and really disappointing. But anyway, this was a great like last showing for the series, and I will say one thing. I like how Hiruma Gento runs over and he sees civilians and he goes to protect them, and he and Blazar like are ready to jump into action and fight the kaiju, and that was a lot of fun for me. That's pretty much all I'm going to say. I think so Taguchi helped introduce the Gigass or Gigass kaiju, the snowy abominable snowman guy, back when Zet got the spear in like episode 5 of Zet. And then we get to see Red King. For some reason, it's listed in the wiki as Red King 2. I don't know what the difference is between a Red King 1 and a Red King 2. He'll always be King Corncob to me. But anyway, yeah, we get to see them fight, and they have like a funny little relationship where they're fighting out in the wilderness somewhere. I guess like near Michiko's house. It seems like, but I thought it was like northern climate or something. I'm not sure. Anyway, they're fighting, and Red King's gonna like crush Gigass with a rock, and Gigass is like, no, please spare me, and then he becomes his servant, which is kind of funny. And they kind of have like a funny relationship dynamic, like all told just through like kaiju grunting and suit work, pantomime, and that was really cool to see. So that was really charming. So like it was a good human story, but also had like some great suit acting and that's kind of a human story too. Great suit acting telling the story of these kaiju in this little silent story with them, and that was a lot of fun. So I like that one a lot. Tell me what you thought about this episode. Do you think it's one of the best episodes like I do, or do you think it's one of the worst? Again, let me know in the comments, and check out my short on this. I'm sure it's entertaining, whatever it is. I can't remember it at this moment. And I want you to go ahead and subscribe. By the way, I said the other day that I wanted 1,000 subscribers. I want 10,000 subscribers on this channel, on Henshin Inspection, and I want 10,000 subscribers over on Fortress Fiction, where you can discover great stories with me, and where I'm talking about great stories, mostly books, but not just books. I'll talk about other great stories as well. I'm currently working on Peter Pan. I'm going to be very slowly covering Peter Pan chapter by chapter. It's going to be a lot of fun. I think it's going to be very exciting, and it's a new plan I have for maximizing my coverage of books and having a richer experience for myself and for the audience as well, who follows along, reads along, checks out the books, and hopefully will be convinced to check out books they've never checked out before due to me talking about them. So anyway, till next time folks, take care, be well, be ultra. I hope you enjoyed that. Subscribe to keep up with me. Like and share to help me reach more people like you. And go to mjmunoz.com to find your next favorite thing. And don't forget to let your voice be heard. Stories are always better when you're part of the conversation. Until next time, be well. This is MJ signing out. This has been a Story Over Everything production.